Hey, welcome. It's another edition of Beer for Breakfast, ABV, 91X. You found us at 91X.com. Welcome. I'm Tommy. Paul Segura is here from Carl Strauss.
Aloha.
Producer Danielle is here, everybody. And joining us today, we've got Steve Munson joining us, the owner of Dos Desperados in San Marcos. Also joining us, Jonah Nilsson joining us as well from So Rich Chocolates. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Now we're going to be pairing some beer and some chocolates today. I hate it when that happens. And we're going to start with the Jailbreak West Coast style IPA. Mm-hmm. Now, Danielle, I think this is probably our favorite kind of IPA.
It is, definitely.
Yeah, so, and check that out. They got the little Derringer on the top for the bottle cap there.
Very cool.
Yeah. So when did you guys go into business?
We've been open 3 years now, so it's, off to a good start. We know a lot of things ahead of us, and just having a great time. That was kind of one of the purposes, so.
And Johna, how long have you been pairing chocolate with beer?
For about 5 years. I've been pairing with different beers.
How do you get into something like that?
Well, I started out just making chocolate and thought I was going to work with wine, but since I live in Vista right off of Hop Highway, I started working with beer, and that just took up all my time and energy, and I loved the industry. I just loved everyone I worked with. So it kind of stuck as the dream job.
It's cool that you pair with IPAs, because every time I think of chocolate pairing with some kind of beer, I usually think of stouts or porter, something really rich. So I'm really interested to try this with an IPA.
Yeah, this is the first beer chocolate I ever made, was the white chocolate and crystallized grapefruit peel.
Okay, so this is the chocolate that we're going to try with the West Coast style IPA right here on the front. And what's that again on the chocolate?
It's called Citrus Crush. It's white chocolate with crystallized grapefruit peel. I get the grapefruit out of Valley Center.
Oh, all right, locally sourced.
Local, of course, yes.
We love that.
And the beer smells grapefruity. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Nice to meet you.
Desperados.
Great to be here.
Cheers.
All right.
Danielle.
So we got to hand out the chocolate. Is that the best way to do it, or just grab a piece off of the
Go ahead and take a piece. After you've taken 2 or 3 sips of the beer, it's best then to try the chocolate, because it's made to complement the flavor profile of the beer.
Let's see how this goes. I'm going to try to get a piece of grapefruit in there.
I got to know where the name Dos Desperados came from. I have an idea, but why don't you tell me?
Several parties in the backyard. Somebody finally said, you need to name your brewery. And well, we didn't have a brewery. It was all home brewing. And so kind of probably Selma Hayek and Antonio Banderas had a little to do with it, or the Eagles song. But the rebel in all of us, I suppose, the James Dean or the Clint Eastwood, and just kind of maybe not break any rules, but try to go around a few if you can.
Right. Now I was thinking it might have been like a Western or something like that, but you can get the Eagles reference.
And that's kind of the same of our tasting room and stuff too, is just Southwestern 1800s, that kind of thing. So.
That's great.
This is a home run. Yeah. Fantastic job.
Good.
The Citrus Crush goes with goes with any IPA up to a double.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's really
This
fun.
is really good together.
That pairs, the flavors, you can't tell where one stops and the other begins.
A good pairing.
And then the chocolate kind of coats your tongue, and the dryness of the beer just kind of lifts it and, leaves you wanting to eat more and drink more.
It's really, really good.
That's
I'm
fantastic.
Thank you.
Wow.
I like to play with all different kinds of peels, but the grapefruit is where I start. But I use kumquat, pomelo, tangelo, whatever my farmer brings me. I put it in white chocolate, because that always worked with some kind of IPA or pale.
Wow.
I'm impressed.
Now you used to listen to 91X when you were a kid growing up in Los Angeles, right?
In high school. We tried to sneak that, clear into the valley. You would just sometimes find corners where you could hear it.
Right.
And it would be so exciting for us. Through a lot of static. But, because 91X was stuff we couldn't hear up north. Because we had, it was great. So this is a treat to be back. And I think my husband did an interview here because he was in a band in the...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so
That's so cool.
he was kind of a San Diego star in some way. But kind of fun to be here.
And now you are.
Well, no. In my small world of craft beer, I know some people, but yeah.
It's a good world to be a part of.
Yeah,
it's not
it's a
bad.
fun-
I know,
it's a fun
not
community.
A bad life. It's wonderful.
Well, I can see you blowing up with,
Oh,
these.
yeah.
These are going to go off.
It's really fun.
And Steve, how did you guys get together?
Actually, one of our customers used to be a babysitter for
Oh, is that right?
My kids.
John's
yeah.
family, yeah. And they said he'd love to do a pairing because we had done previously a donut pairing. And it all sounded kind of
Which
weird,
isn't so bad.
but they go over pretty well. So they said, "You have to call Johna, get this going." So, and away we go.
We had fun too.
Did a big Valentine's Day event?
We
Yes.
did, yeah. The Sunday before Valentine's, we had a little
Was that
party.
the brewery?
So, yeah. So.
We did 6 chocolates and 6 pours, which is fantastic.
Wow.
Usually I'll do like 3 or 4. So I was telling everyone, no, but we're doing 6 pours and 6 chocolates, like it's a meal. We had a great time. It was
Awesome.
really fun.
Yeah.
Well, the rest of you brewers out there, got to get on this for next year.
So
Call Johna,
good.
yeah.
Yes, I love it.
All right, so that was the Jailbreak West Coast style IPA, and paired with the what is that again? The Citrus,
Citrus Crush.
white chocolate. That was and this is, what kind of fruit is this again?
Grapefruit peel.
That was so good.
That's ideal.
I just want to eat that for the rest of the day.
Now we've got the Rough Rider IPA, and Steve, this is a rye IPA,
Right,
correct?
yeah.
So how long did it take you guys to come up with this formula?
Well, every new beer is a new story, right? But
Right.
we had a bag of rye sitting around. We said we had to use that up, so we put it in one of our IPA recipes and changed the hop schedule a little bit. Basically, Columbus, the predominant hop.
How did the louder go?
I'm sorry.
How did the louder go?
It was all fine, Just we've got an old dairy milk tank.
Okay.
That is our mash tun, and then everything else is we're about an 8-barrel system, but
All right.
everything went pretty well.
Well, good for you. Rye's kind of a hard grain to brew with.
Well, we didn't use
Gelatinizes.
much. We just used a bag. It was about maybe 10, 15%, so it wasn't a lot. But hopefully you get a little maybe peppery without too spicy, maybe. Maybe from the rye and the Columbus
Yeah,
hops.
I can smell the rye. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little-
and so is there a particular trait about a rye IPA that you want to be looking for?
To me, I mean, maybe ryes are coming back, Paul, you think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but to me, it's the peppery.
A little pungent and peppery, yeah. It's kind of like rye bread, right?
Yep.
But I think it goes nicely with hops, especially the right variety. I think Columbus, it works. You can just smell it. It's really nice.
And then, John, we're pairing this with the White Ghost Chili Chocolate.
Yes, so this is white chocolate with cinnamon and ghost chili.
Wow, the beer's phenomenal.
I say it kind of tastes like a spicy oatmeal cookie.
Spicy oatmeal cookie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And with IPAs, we can do anything spicy we want, of course. So with the first one, we did kind of a citrus focus. Now this is going to play more like you would put a spicy food with the IPA.
It does taste like it's got cinnamon or something.
And it has cinnamon. Tons of vanilla's in the chocolate already.
Oh, there's
and then
the
the
spice.
heat.
There it
Yeah.
is.
It's a little delayed.
There it is.
You got it? Yeah.
It takes
There it is.
Little
And now have a
firecracker,
sip of beer. Cleanse
and
the
the beer
palate.
will put out the fire.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of stuff going on
that
here.
You're like a
fun?
magician.
It's like having apple pie with ice cream in your IPA.
I like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
this is
right.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Not so bad.
Wow.
She's a savant.
Coach.
You should be enlightened now about what you can do with your beer.
Wow. Now, and this pairs specifically well because it is a rye IPA?
This, you can pretty much do the spicy with any IPA. But this one we came across because I had my palate, and Dean was in there with us,
Yeah.
and he's like, I cannot get past this rye with the White Ghost chili. So we just used it as one of our pairings. But that's why it's fun to bring all these different ideas, because you never know. And then if there's 6 or 8 people, you come up with more ideas too. So the more palettes, the better, I say.
That's
Do you
really
find that-
spicy.
That something maybe on paper might seem a little unorthodox until you actually taste the two together.
Absolutely. And the only thing I've found after 5 years is don't come with rules in your mind. Because really, there's amazing surprises. And
Yeah.
I can generalize, but now I know, let's just throw it all out there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And you have the context of everyone else's palate in there. And it's just so much more personal. Like our pairing was it was like our story of our meeting. And that is really fun. And then to customize the chocolates to the beers for me is a huge privilege. I love to work with the other crafts. So
Do you do much incorporating of the beer in the chocolate itself?
I've done it before. It doesn't really make it better, but it's fun to say, oh, the beer's in there. And I'll use it in a reduction with a fruit and put it in a truffle or caramel.
Yeah.
But overall, it's not my mandatory ingredient. I just want to pretty much complement the beer that I'm working with. So
You've done a great job with this one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you find something surprising about your beers when you try it this way?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, it opens up your thoughts, opens up your palate to, new experiences. So it's a lot of fun. So
I can see maybe picking out something in the beer that you didn't pick out prior, like the chocolate bringing out the Columbus hops a little more.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. I like to do that sometimes too, find the more discreet flavor and have the chocolate, because I like to use the chocolate too to educate about your palates.
Yeah.
And so that sometimes I say the chocolate helps you learn your palate,
Yeah,
which is good.
helps train the palate.
Dig it.
Yeah, right off the bat, the cinnamon was kind of earthy before the heat kicked in.
Yeah.
And the rye, the earthiness of the rye kind of went really nicely with the cinnamon. And then the heat kicked in, and then I just wanted to put the fire out, and the beer's like dry enough to...
Let's say that firecracker goes off, but then it dissipates. It doesn't go down. You're not refluxing. You don't need the tums, later. So,
No, it's
but,
true, because you have the bubbles.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
You have the bubbles.
Yeah, the bubbles kind of lift up, cleanse the palate, and then you want more.
All right, so that was the Rough Rider Rye IPA, and then the next on our agenda, we're going to be pairing this next beer with the Dark Peanut Butter Bricks, and that is the Gunsmoke Habanero Scottish Ale. Oh yeah, here we go.
All right. So what's the story with the Habaneros?
We came up kind of about, I don't want to say same time as Ballast Point, but I always loved their Sculpin and their Piper Down with the habaneros. And I think 10 years ago, it wasn't as hot as it is now at Ballast Point. And I'm never going to criticize those guys. I love them. I think they're great. But I like a little lighter habaneros or a little pepper. So that's kind of what we came up with. But
I don't know if I've ever had chilies in a Scottish ale. This will be interesting.
Right? I know.
I started growing the habaneros in back of our brewery, and then I put out some Scotch bonnets, which are kind of a cousin. We actually did Scotch bonnets in a stout, and just about the time they started to bud, somebody stole my 5 mud buckets. Oh! So to make the beer anymore, I had to go online to try to find some peppers and stuff.
terrible.
So I'm going to grow them this year in my backyard.
So
instead
we
of
don't
back
have
in the brewery,
local
so-
peppers in this one.
But yeah.
This smells awesome.
This is the dark peanut
This smells like dried fruits and like
Well, the Scottish, hopefully you get a little, in the Scottish
dark
you get a
peanut
little
butter
caramel. And then, we use that, what is it, the smoked peat
peat smoked malt.
malt. So you get a little smokiness, hopefully not too much. A little bit goes a long way. But
I get a
there's
little
lot going on.
cocoa. I get caramel. I get dried fruits.
Yeah.
I get just a hint of peat smoked malt.
But then you can smell the pepper, like a little green.
Well, I can smell it more than I can taste it. Because I smelled it and I was like, oh no, this is
Again,
gonna be
I'm
hot.
on the light
And
side
then
of
I
that.
tasted it and I was like, oh, this isn't hot.
It's so nice.
Yeah, it's so
Wow,
nice.
that is nice.
We'll
Very
get
well
that little
balanced.
firecracker going off. About the second week we had the brewery open, one of my customers came in, and he loved the habanero Scottish, and so he bought a growler of it. And I didn't know what he was going to do with it. He took it home. 4 days later, he brought back 25 pounds of sausages he made.
Wow.
He's the butcher over at Midway Meats over in Escondido.
Oh, yeah?
So we cooked those up on the smoker, and oh man, were they good. So you get the beer and the sausages going with the firecrackers. We served those 4th of July that year. So.
Two of my favorite things.
This is really good.
The dark peanut butter.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And that's this one?
Yes.
I got one for you there, Paul.
Oh, thanks.
Right. So the peanut butter, I like peanut butter with anything smoky in a beer. It's just magical. I love to put it with porters. This one has a nice amount of smoke, but it's kind of lighter. But when you sip through the peanut butter, that smoke comes out. And then this is just so good anyway. It's like the adult peanut butter cup, as I say.
It really is. Yeah.
Like
And
this
the
is
peanut
the one
butter
you
is
don't
so
share.
creamy.
Yeah.
It's not granular like you see sometimes. Like a
I've
peanut
used
butter
the
cup.
creamy peanut butter.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of those Mary Janes that you get, those
Oh, I love
candies.
those.
Yeah, that's what totally
With the
tastes like.
nougat. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, try them together now.
Oh, it's delicious.
Cheers, by the way, you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You know. Don't bother me. I'm eating chocolate.
The habaneros are really subtle. I mean, you can taste them, but you don't get a lot of heat. It's really well balanced, I think.
Thank you. With most of our, we're trying, and maybe to be a chef where you want to maybe get a hint of the spices, and maybe even guess at it, and then maybe the second sip or the second bite, then you lock in. But when it's overpowering for me, it's taken away from the beer.
Yeah.
I still want to be refreshed by the beer. So
What I like about it is it tastes like a really nice beer first, and then you get that hint of habanero kind of in the finish. And it almost has a cumulative effect with each sip you take.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then this, in conjunction with it, just takes it to
this
another
just opens
dimension.
it up. This is wild. Yeah. This is great.
It's like a nice barbecue.
Now, I've asked Paul this before, but maybe you can tell me what makes a Scottish ale Scottish, or what's so Scottish about it. And does it have something to do with the alcohol amount of it in there?
A little smoked malt.
There are 3 or 4 different levels of Scottish ales. I think there's the 60 shilling, 80 shilling,
40, 60, 80, 120, and then Scotch.
Based on alcohol levels, I guess they used to tax it that way. There was the shillings and taxes. For us, it's a fairly complicated malt, grain bill. We've got a little special B. Maybe that's where you get the caramel from. I'm not sure. Probably the smoked, peat is a smoking. It's just like in a Scotch, liquor.
Right.
I think that's very similar to what they use. But yeah, it's been a nice beer for us. It really has. So.
That's one of your more enduring beers, one of your more popular ones?
Well, no, San Diego IPAs.
You just can't get away from it.
Right.
We
The
opened,
Hop Highway, after all,
Yeah.
right?
we opened a brewery, and I thought, okay, we'll have a couple IPAs, a couple stouts, and then I can have a couple Belgians, and
Yeah.
a couple Scottish and everything else. No, I think this summer we got up to 8 IPAs on tap.
Wow, really?
Oh, I need to get up to
It was
San
just
Marcos.
it was insane.
You really
That's too many.
should,
I mean,
yeah.
we need to cut that back. We're down to about 5 or 6 right now, but people love them. They ask for them, and then
true.
what's the most thing they say? What's new?
Yeah.
Really?
So it's a new
Yeah.
IPA or it's new this. So
Everybody wants what's new and shiny.
It's a wonder that any beer lovers from San Marcos or Vista ever come below the 78.
Well, once
this
in
is
a
The
while.
rest of us.
there's a lot of good ones out there, though. We followed them over the years. There's a lot of good ones.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. Well, that's great. Okay, and I tell you, these little peanut butter bricks are outstanding.
Thank you. Try them with a stout too. They're really good with a stout.
If you insist.
Oh,
We
twist
have a
my
stout
arm.
coming later.
If I have
Try that out.
All right, well, we're heading to the final beer for this week's edition of Beer for Breakfast ABV. And joining us, Steve Munson from Dos Desperados and also Johna Nilsson from So Rich Chocolate. It's good to have you guys here. Been enjoying these pairings. This is fun.
This is fun. It's a job. It's a rough job.
Somebody's got to do it,
This
right?
is what we do in North San Diego.
I'm afraid this is going to go straight to my hips.
We don't go to the beach.
You're tall. You can hold it.
We do pairings. All right, so the last one that you brought along here, Steve, this is the sultry stouts, everybody. Who's ready for some sultry stouts? And we're pairing this with the dark gingerbread truffle. How did that pairing come together? Was that a fun one to figure out?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Couple wows. Yeah.
I have a feeling we're saving the best for last here.
This one is so good. I use fresh ginger and I grind cinnamon, allspice, and cloves. And then I put crystallized ginger in it and molasses. So I basically looked at the recipe for a gingerbread snap. And then I put it in my whipping cream for the truffle. And then I added it to the chocolate. And it's like a chocolate gingerbread cookie.
Oh, my.
And it is so good with up to a barrel-aged beer. But this really sips full-bodied like a barrel-aged.
Awesome.
I think it's such a nice beer. And it goes really nice with the gingerbread. But that molasses is the key at the finish. You get that molasses.
Ooh, the stout even smells very cocoa-like.
It's our basic
That's tasty.
oatmeal stout. It's about 5.8 ABV. Then we add a Vietnamese cinnamon to it.
Oh, I get
along
that.
with some chocolate and vanilla. So that makes
Choose
this
your
awesome.
confection there.
Oh, my. Wow.
So something that I'm finding interesting about what both of you are doing between the beer side and the chocolate side is you're pairing things up that you wouldn't normally see in a beer or in a chocolate. So do you have, each of you have an example of trying something and it just did not taste the way that you thought it would, or it just did not pair the way that you thought it would?
We had a beer that we just couldn't figure out. Do you remember the beer? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes the chocolate just overbears the beer if it's a really mild profile. Like I make a cucumber melon truffle, but I don't always have that with me. But that pairs nicely with like a Belgian white.
Yeah.
But there's, sometimes there's just the beers are way too mild that I don't
Because
want to
they're Kolsch.
overbear. It was the Kolsch.
The Kolsch is one of our best sellers.
Oh, wow.
But it just,
Yeah,
you know,
which I could have done with
was
the
different.
cucumber melon, but I didn't have it. And then we found all these other pairings. So we're like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
didn't make the cut for the first 6.
Didn't make the cut. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
I would assume like the research and development on both sides, on like on the beer side and on the coffee, on the chocolate side is like, you know, a little bit different.
You don't know though till you try it. Like I can show you a pairing on paper that makes sense, and you try it and you're like, no, because some of my flavors, I mean, the grapefruit peel changes flavors with the seasons, or where the tree was at. My honey changes flavor profile season to season. I use maple syrup out of Vermont. That changes, you know, with flavors. And beers now are so, you know, those little subtle changes, sometimes there's something to address. And so that's just best to sit there and try it.
And
It's a
as
very rigorous job.
brewers, like, you know, do you two like have the same problem, not problem, but something that you run into also, that depending on like where the hop came from or where the grain came from or what part of the year, it has a different taste to it?
Yeah, Mother Nature never really gives you the same thing, you know, exactly the same two harvests in a row.
Yeah, they have a real wet season that can affect the grain and the yields and all that kind of stuff. Or, you know, hop supply. I mean, sometimes the big boys will outbuy us, and we get onto alternatives. You know, so or like the habaneros. You know, I can grow the habaneros, and depending on whether it's week 1 when they're ripe or week 6 or 7, they can be more yellow, hotter. You know, whatever size can be different. So that's what you got to try to figure out as well.
But that, luckily, we're American. You just go with the flow.
I like that. Well, that's San Diego. That's such a go with the
Craftsman.
flow San Diego. Like,
It's
make it
true.
work.
You have to be flexible in your art and craft. So
So it sounds like you guys have worked together a lot. Are there other breweries you're also working with?
well, I think it's kind of the same language. Like I feel already connected when I work with beer, just because it really is a similar language, and I know exactly where Steve's standing on many levels, just because I've been working with other breweries, and it's so in sync with how I do what I do, and entrepreneurs, we're just all the same. We're a little crazy, but
You're an artist.
we take risks, you know, and
Not
so
afraid to try something. You know?
Yeah.
That's just it. So.
nobody
Venture,
says,
nothing
I don't
gained."
know if we should try that. I mean, I've never
Never
had a
heard that.
brewer tell me that.
No.
They try everything because that's what they do when they're making their beer. So it's a perfect match.
Awesome.
Who are you working
big
with
boys
next?
are-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, if the big boys are sticking it to you and not getting you the hops, that's when you get creative, right?
Have to.
Yeah. Go
I'm sorry, Paul,
Go
we're
with the
gonna
flow.
say-
I was
Yeah.
going to ask her who she's working with next.
Oh, I'm going to be doing a pairing middle March with Council Brewing, which is fun because they are known for a lot of sours. So we're doing a couple sours. They're actually releasing a sour next week that we're going to be pairing with. the
So
week
what would
after.
you pair a sour with?
Sours, generally, I like to go with citrus again, but I'm actually going to work with my last of the batch of my kumquats.
Wow.
So,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, and I have a mom who goes to our charter school, and she handpicked them. She has 7 kids, or I think 5 or 6 kids, and she picked these kumquats for me, and I put them in my chocolate. So this is a sacred batch, but I'm going to put it in the chocolate to go with one of their sours. That's the one that stands out to me. Sometimes honey caramel works with a sour.
Maybe that cucumber one.
The cucumber melon sometimes. Yeah, it just depends on how tart the sour is going to be, and what, you know, if there's a fruit additive, you know, if they've added fruit. So the sours are an adventure, for sure.
I bet.
But people don't expect chocolate to go with a sour. But I pair with wine here and there too, and if you can pair with a Chard or a sparkling, you know, a Pinot Grigio, you figured out how to work with some of that flavor profile. So it works to be versatile.
I got to tell you, I don't know what's been going on, but I mean, you guys are, I pole vaulted right ahead of
you
you
bottoms
here,
up?
So,
Bottoms
yeah,
up.
I mean, Andy's gone, beer's
me
gone, but
catch
also
up.
cheers you anyway,
Cheers.
you know. Great combo, you
Cheers.
guys.
Thank you,
Well
guys.
Great
done.
beers, great
Yeah,
chocolates.
yeah.
Great time.
You guys
Yeah.
are awesome.
Now, the website for Dos Desperados is dosdesperadosbrew.com. And then the website for So Rich Chocolates is sorichchocolates.com.
Yes.
Nice and easy websites. You're not going to forget those. That's great. Boy, I tell you, thanks for making time for joining us today.
Thank you.
The
Appreciate
pairings
it.
have been terrific.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Such
Oh,
a pleasure.
yeah. Yeah.
Here at
Nice meeting
91X.
you guys.
Paul, thanks.
Paul, nice to meet
Oh,
you.
You got a mouthful of chocolate?
I got chocolate all over me. You know.
Yeah, now you live in North County, so you can get 91X anytime you want to hear it, right?
What? Yeah. Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Well, check it out online at 91x.com, as though you would look anyplace else other than 91x.com for all the online content. You can check out previous editions of Beer for Breakfast, as well as previous editions of Beer for Breakfast ABV. Thanks again to Dos Desperados and So Rich Chocolates, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice job, you guys. We'll see you later.
All right.
We're going to eat some more of this.